Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Thanks to all the audience who has been with us in this 8th Congress Expociruelas 2021. Good morning, everyone from the Northern Hemisphere, California, and in the evening, and those who are with us in Europe and probably some other countries in Asia. It's an honor to be here with you again, to thank again for being with us online. This is something new for us to do this Congress online, and the circumstances led us to do it this way. And I hope all the expositions are enriching for all of you. And from now on, to be able to open the debate. We did it face to face most of the time, in the different instances between the exporters, producers, and our sponsors who have been with us in this Congress. And we could have a conversation face to face. And sometimes it was a bit hard. But this time it is not possible to do it, and we will try to solve the questions and answer the questions that have been received during the morning. I want to thank all those who had the expositions, Sebastián Valdés, with the tour and history of what we have had these crops when we started by 1920, 1930 in California, which has been a very interesting trip. Probably we didn't see a history developed at such a level of detail. So we really thank Sebastián. He's devoted to this topic in prunes in general, and this is a reference of our industry who has been working with us with Chileprunes for a long time. Juan Pablo Sotomayor, he's part of this panel. He's going to be with us. We do this all these years in a sort of a trip for all the seasons, and we are going to talk to him about this, and Thomas Lave, with his expert perspective, being along with us in this industry. And also I want to thank his exposition, as this integrates because we have Chileprunes, a technical committee, and other associations that are parts of this ecosystem in the prunes industry in Chile. And no doubt, Tomás Lave is one of the leaders in this technical expertise of crops. Professor Fernando Santibáñez, no doubt, he is an expert in his presentations in agroclimate and all what's coming for the world and our country in terms of climate. And this is something that we have been observing, paying much attention. We have to be aware of this and to listen to the experts. And this is our obligation, because there are some adaptations that the industry needs to consider for our crops to survive in time. So Professor Santibáñez's presentation, I thank him for his time. He has always been pretty close to our industry in Chile, and his expertise is important. Nicolás Leal presented what's coming, because at this time it's the present, and the pandemic has made us to be close to all the online sales. There were some presentations that are important, especially Nicolás's presentation, and specifically for this industry, the opportunities that we have in e-commerce and retail and everything that has to do with our products, B2B and V2C, in these platforms. I remember about some of the figures. We're talking about 500 million of items in Amazon, And here we have to be very present to get a good room for the visibility of our products in platforms such as Amazon or many others in the world. There is a huge opportunity in terms of the prunes, as we have a little presence in the B2C, business to consumer, where we reach the final consumer through these platforms around the world. So, if we are on page number 1 on the first place, when we talk about prunes, this is something accessible. That is an advantage that we have to use, and we have to use this technology as soon as possible. I have 500 questions for Agromillora. Thank you very much for your participation. You have been with us for a long time, and this is a trial that has been done out of Chile, but now in Chile, it has been very successful, and I want to tell you that all the presentations of today are going to be available within our platform of Expociruelas secas, so that you can review with all the contacts. Obviously, we cannot answer the technical questions directly for Agromillora, but I'm sure that Mauricio will answer all these questions from his email or from his direct contact. Verónica de la Cerda's presentation is an obligation, a moral, real obligation, because everything that she discusses, we have to stop using the word sustainability as a tool for the marketing, and we have to include that as a reality and a real commitment of ours. Not only because that is our responsibility before the planet, but also because this is demanded that we behave according to the circumstances and how we are trying our Mother Earth. That is why today there are many instances of certification that we have to check, and within the last few years and decades, perhaps we as industry in general, we have devoted to all what has to do with food safety. Now, there is no doubt that food safety is a plus. The world is expecting our products to have a superior quality, and every time someone eats a prune, is absolutely certain that is consuming a product that is premium, high quality, functional, with good features, and that today has to go hand in hand with our commitment in terms of sustainability. Overpackaging, for instance, too much use of a plastic, how we recycle that, how we dispose of these materials, and the obligation we as exporters and manufacturers, we have to be in charge of this, and that is something that the world demands, and we have to definitely to address that as an obligation. And finally, Sofia Ramirez, she's showed us innovation in terms of finance. We listened to the fintech, much talk about venture capital for different kinds of entrepreneurships and projects. Agriculture maybe looks sold, a little bit delayed in terms of these fundings, but she shows that there is a step ahead that we can do, thinking about agriculture and our products in terms of finance and venture capital. That is going to be a step into the future, such as we do it with technology and many other areas. Thanks for the participation of our speakers. Now I want to introduce our Juan Pablo Sotomayor. He is always present today in the life of all the farmers, prunes farmers in Chile. Javier Plaza, Vice President of Chileprunes. partner of Protexa, Bruno Ceroni, manager, Good Valley. And with this, we can start the dynamics to answer the questions that we have received during the panel. Start saying, but we are facing a hard season. Probably this is going to be the hardest seasons that we have faced in history. I am not exaggerating, and I think this is an important challenge. With the inventories that the world is managing are low. So what we have suffered in terms of the crop, the harvest that we just finished, where Juan Pablo could tell us a little bit more in terms of understanding what happened. This is also impacted by low inventories in other parts of the world. So we will have to be in touch, to be open among all the parties and the stakeholders. It is going to be fundamental that producers, exporting companies, and importers are absolutely communicated fluently and understanding that we are responsible, and we are responsible with maintaining this industry standing. It is fundamental that we are capable to provide products to the world with the best quality. And if we have inventories that are restricted, we keep demand for prunes. This is a big product, but we have had experiences in previous years where the offer was very low, and we have problems to keep demand high and the interest for this excellent product. And from then, if we have to think about the responsibilities of each of the areas that we have seen in this industry with this product, where there are many transformation processes that are vital. This concept that sometimes is repeated about our orchard, that it goes from the tree to your tables. It goes through many processes and hands, so it is important to be responsible across the industry in order to have a good season, and that is going to be possible with communication. This is not going to be a year that is going to be easy. It is a year to work hand in hand, working hard as an industry, how we are going to address this problem of having restricted inventories and to cooperate with the planet, providing the best of our products. Having said so, we will start with some of the questions asked during the presentations. And we will start with Juan Pablo Sotomayor. You can make a sort of summary of your presentation. In the harvest today in Chile, and the question asked by one of the participants, how the conversions were between the fresh and dried fruit this year. Good afternoon. It was a strange season that started with the spring, with the long flowering, that, as I said in the presentation, made us to have variability with all the orchards with early flowering had a good fruit, but there were some orchards in different areas that had very little fruit. Orchards where they were not harvested because of the low amount of fruit. And with these conditions, with what we have seen, we had an estimation of 75,000 tons, and I think that was in the trees. that was there before the harvest that allow us to have a rather normal harvest, lower than normal, but a volume that was enough for the season. And before the rain, actually that condition was remaining. We had all the programs, okay. We could see a good condition of the fruits, maybe with a level of sugar that was low than last year. Last season was very good in terms of sugar quality because of the dryness in the environment that we had. Today it was a little bit low, but kind of normal levels. But however, the rains that was between 20 to 100 millimeters made us change everything. And the first days after that weekend of rains, we could see that there was a significant effect as we could expect. However, as time passed, and that was before the harvest, we could see that the pressure started to drop significantly, very quickly. The pressures were 2-3 pounds. And as I said, we started harvesting as we were finishing the harvest with fruit with no pressure, very bad climate, but at the same time with low sugar content. And that was something that did not help us. The sugar were at levels probably 18, 19, maybe 20 bricks, not higher than that. And the doubt was that if we could expect for a higher bricks with better conversion or to start harvesting for the fruit not to fall. So the low or the pressure was very quickly. We had to start and we had to sacrifice conversion. And that was the first week of the harvest, February the 8th, between 6th and 8th. And that fruit had a conversion about 4, 3.8, 4.2, very bad. As we started the harvest, it was a little bit better with more sugar, probably 3.5. And the last week of the harvest with levels that were close to 3, more normal. But I would say as an average, the season is going to finish with conversion of 3.5, not better than that. Very low conversions that apart from the fall of the fruit will not impact on the volumes that we are receiving. Thank you, Juan Pablo. We were talking about a scarcity cycle within what's coming next in the future and ahead. So there is a question that I would like to ask Javier Plaza. It has to do how long do you think this scarcity cycle will last in terms of prunes in the world? Good afternoon. Good morning. It's an interesting question and very hard to know, but as we have to think in terms of normality, if we say that, I think this is not going to happen before 3 years. I think in 2022, 23, if there were normal years, we could have a world stock as an equilibrium. We're talking about 250,000, 220,000 tons. But we can see there are some signs in the northern hemisphere in the flowering. We have seen some news, some frosts, that if we will have these kinds of events, obviously, this is going to postpone the end until we have normality. And I think within 2 or 3 years, normal harvests, we should have stock comfortable within this period of time. So this is the concern when we talk about crisis, significant crisis in terms of inventory, and to be able to recover the industry within 2 years. We can see the problem of availability of fruit is a real problem. Someone was asking about, and I would like to ask the question to Bruno. You can provide a context in terms of the commercial area. How do you visualize the commercial area in what's coming? And also to add, how can we explain the overprice paid by the exporters for prunes in kilns? Thank you, Pedro Pablo. In commercial terms, we are facing a very complicated season. I believe that talking about 75,000 to going down to 40,000 or maybe 30,000 exportable, that is less than half. But that causes a big commercial problem because we have programs, we have contracts for 2 years, and we have customers. We have to be responsible for the delivery of the product, but we don't know how much we're going to have. To have a doubt about the quality of the fruit that we will have. We have seen many problems in the plants. In the first reception of the fruit, there will be a lot of discard. That is going to be a complication, and that also reduces the general volume. All this within a context of a low offer causes that the prices go up. Even though this is a commodity product, so this causes a problem. How much we can increase the product with this commodity, where we have consumers that could replace this product by another alternative. So we have to be careful about this to have a price with the good profitability for the producers, but not exceeding a price that could cause damage into our future and the next seasons. Regarding the question, the kiln, as it was presented by Sebastián in California, made a change into kilns in 1930s, long time ago, because of a climate event impacting in that area. Today we can see that as well. And I think that's the tendency today in Chile. It's leading to this. Obviously, prunes, fruit dried on the fields is okay, but the kilns provide a safety in terms of the product of the fruit, maybe not quality in terms of quality, but a better yield in the further processes, and that leads that we can have a gap in the final comparison with the sun-dried fruit. And there are some markets where customers demand is demanding kilns instead of sun-dried. So there is a little bit of a difference because of these two reasons. Thank you, Bruno. Someone is asking what is the implication of a low pressure in terms of processes or quality of the fruit? It's a very interesting question, and obviously it is related to, as Juan Pablo said previously, we started the season with very low pressure in the fruit, and when we say that today probably we are going to have the right tonnage, 45,000 tons, physical tons in our warehouses, then we have a problem to process these 45,000 tons and to see the yields of this. One of the problems that we have here is of having fruit with a low pressure at the beginning of the harvest is that the fruit is brittle. The skin is it doesn't have a strong structure, so the transformation processes that go further have to be done very carefully, and the percentage of damage of that fruit within these transformation processes are going to be probably higher than what we expected in previous seasons. And with that, it's here where we say that despite of having this 45,000 tons, maybe we are going to have a marketable product that could reach 35,000 tons. That is why we have a reduction. That is the percentage of the yield that has to do that with the processes to be done more carefully, and there will be some discard in these processes done more than the history in the process lines. So that is one of the implications that we have for having low pressure at the agro-business level. The fall of the fruit is what we could see from nearly a couple of days after the rains, as we could see that unfortunately the fruit was falling down on the floor, and this was a significant damage. And regarding this, another question: how do you see the problem of the micro cracks in the production? Does it have to do with the same thing that what we discussed, the micro cracks? It's damage that, as it is described, it's hard to identify. It's the skin that has a damage that is hard. It's hard to be observable, but we can see once it is processed, and you can see sometimes at the destination market, the skin of the prune that is resistant. Usually it is. It has a feature that it doesn't allow that the sugar content in the fruit sweat. After the fruit has been processed, when I have cracks on the skin, that event may happen if the fruit has been softened, and sometimes we can see that later. We are going to be conscious of this within the season, and to say that this is going to be a hard season in terms of the fruit that we are going to process. Javier Plaza, one question. Why United States had a liquidation of prices that is higher than Chile? That is a question that is always asked in our congresses. Okay, why the United States has that price? Part of this, I would say it's true, and another part is not, because in California, liquidation are higher than for the bigger sizes, and the small size, starting from the Chilean sizes, that could be 70, 80, 80, 90, 90, 100, they discard that, and the liquidation is obviously almost null. And for big sizes, we have a difference, and mainly this is because they have an internal market that is very strong, and the proportion of the prunes in California that go to retails and supermarkets that is packed in different kinds of packaging is much higher than what we pack and sell in that format. We have been working, and all the companies are trying to go to this, adding value to this. It is harder to do it, and for us, the percentage is very significant in terms of the retail format. On the other hand, even though we have some entries in Japan, they hold the Japanese market with a higher return. They demand a prune that is 100% dried in kilns. There are some restrictions in terms of the maximum of preservatives, and also demands to have a prune that is totally controlled. And today they manage at 100%, but we manage that, but at a minor level. I would say that in California there's a higher level, that's true, and the sizes are bigger, that we call big 30, 40, and the medium 60, 70. And from then on, our liquidation, I would say, it's better. And as an average, it's pretty close if we put the prices of theirs here, because in California, it's important that you can see the curve of the size is much better in California. The sizes are close to 50, and our curve is closer to 70, 75. So therefore, when we have a global average, it could be higher in California. It is. But the size is also, size to size is what I say. Big size have a better return, small size, we have a better return. Thank you, Javier. I have a short question, and I will try to interpret that. What role have the third parties that do not export? I think that question has to do with the intermediary, not a producer. Obviously, the role of the producer is evident. Someone who provides the fruit from the tree with this wonderful product and all the transformation processes into the world. Now we are facing a season that is so hard that we can see there are some people in between where they can see an opportunity to try to find, sometimes with the lack of knowledge of what is being bought or purchased, to move it and to have a change in hands. And as I said at the beginning, and this could be complicated. And that is why I am interested in this question, and I want to further discuss. This is the year where people have to work with the fruits. They have to be the experts, and the message is strong and clear about this. The expert hands are our producers. The expert hands are our exporters and processors, and the expert eyes are our consumers. All the other stakeholders in a year like this, we as a responsible industry, we have to try to put them aside, because any external influence in this industry may cause significant problems in a year where the expert eye is fundamental. So here the message and the invitation is to work all together directly in this expert chain that has to do with the producer, the exporter, the processor, and the importer. We have to try to avoid any external party where we can send fruit with a low quality, or probably with prices that are not normal, just because they want to sell the product. And this allows irresponsibility, because I just want to play in a game where we are not experts. So this is a good question. We understand it, and I hope I could answer according to the scope that we need. And our invitation is to use, to share, to trade our fruit as much as possible with the expert hands, and obviously in the exporting and processing hands. Those who have a seal of Chileprunes are mostly those who represent about 80% of the exported volume. All of us, having more than 80 years of experience processing this fruit, that, as I said in this presentation, it has a lot of processes of transformation. I would like to compliment your speech, because at this point I think it is fundamental, and we have tried to transmit to here there is a connection of many producers, but also many customers from abroad, and from the day that we could see what was coming, because as Pedro Pablo said, when he started his presentation. We don't believe. I think this is the hardest year that we have ever had in this industry. I don't remember, and we have reviewed the history. I haven't seen any other year with such a complication as what we have today. So on the one hand, I want to provide a message to the producers that within all the difficulties that we are living today, at least with those people, in general, the industry had to have a wider view to receive the fruit that in normal years we couldn't, because they could be damaged. And this is what Pedro Pablo is saying. We are going to receive fruits with a higher damage, and we will have to process them at a risk and with a standard. And we had discussed that with some customers, because we will see that the specifications will have to be adjusted and not to have enough product for the market. And finally, the producer, the exporters, and the customers, we are on the same boat. So therefore, it is our responsibility to try to keep the offer, because if finally, in a place that could happen, we have the prunes that are replaced by figs, for instance, and then we are going to have problems in the next years, because we have to go back to normal. Thanks, Javier. And I have another question related to this. What happens with the world demand? Does it seem to be a not well-known product by the young people, as if it is a mature product that doesn't grow in terms of its demand? That's true. Prunes today, with the surface planted, it's stopped in terms of its demand. And that is why we need to have an effort all together that we have made during the last 15 years since we have become a group. Our responsibility has to do with trying to have a higher curve of demand and more people to eat this beautiful product that we produce here in Chile. And we are now the main exporter in the world, and they can taste it and they can learn about the qualities of this fruit. The effort is huge, and this is a public and private effort. I want to thank also to ProChile. They have helped us in this effort to try to move this demand. It is our responsibility, and this is what we have done in order to open markets in Chile, and this has been the engine for the growth. You could see that in the exponential growth curve in plantations, and how the Chile conquered during the last 2 decades the world. So this is not explosive, but it's a young growth. Obviously, in the world is the demand is stopped, and Chile is responsible for this, because we started with 20,000 to 90,000 potential metric tons to move, and Chile has done it successfully. We cannot stop our work, and definitely we are responsible for the prunes to be consumed even more. We have strategic partnerships, for instance, with the International Prunes Association, IPA, where we are leading some studies aiming, for instance, to help on the osteoporosis. That is a disease that is on nearly 70% of the people. And so people ask, if we're talking about young people, but the functionality of the prunes, it has qualities that in adults and elderly people can be helpful for their problems. And these studies are saying that it helps to fight osteoporosis, but also it could be the first product in the world to have a claim that consumer prunes permanently regenerates the bones. This is an excellent claim we're working with so that we can keep moving the demand curve. The United States has made an excellent work in order to promote the product with sports figures. And here we have the consumption of prunes in young people, in sports people, because of its high level of fiber and calories, because it's important for sports, for some institutions such as the armed forces, where we can say it's incredible. But our customers, our institutional customers, use prunes for such institutions because it is easy, because of its nutrition, and because of all the features that it has. So we are in a public and private effort to keep moving the curve of demand of the Chilean prunes, where we have been very successful. And we have to keep the demand growing in the world. And talking about the orchards now, Juan Pablo, the question has to do with there will be an impact on the production of the next year with what we have lived today, this year, this season. I would say no. I don't think so, because differentiation of the yield that happens during the spring and summer. So I think that won't happen. We will have a new cycle. We will have to rule all the prunes. We will have to think about how to prune this next season, but under normal condition, I would say it could become normal. Question for Bruno. What markets and alternative or commercial alternatives have the exporters in such a complicated year? That is a complex question. Alternatives. Today, unfortunately, we have no volume. And rather than alternatives, we are trying to adjust the programs and the volumes and the quality with the customers. Because as we mentioned that before, all the partners of Chileprunes, we have been established for long years with customers for a long time. So we have to respond to our customers. And connected with what you said with the new markets and the partnerships that we have with ProChile, I think it is fundamental for us, and we have done it with Chileprunes. I have been in many trips to Asia, Southeast Asia, where there are many young people that are just learning about the quality of the prunes. They eat it, they like it, and in general, this is a slow work. We have done it every year, obviously, until the pandemic stopped everything. But we had 3-4 years going to China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, trying to show our product. When we arrived there, they didn't know about it. They tried it, they like it. And if we go 1% in scale, obviously this is going to take time. It needs resources and a lot of effort, but we are working on that. And I hope we can achieve this increase in demand that we are longing for. Maybe it's going to be more complicated in the next few years, but if we have a normal production in the world, it's going to be possible to have this high demand, especially in Asia. A question in English, so it's coming from abroad. Chilean processors are going to buy volume abroad in other markets such as France and the United States to fill your needs. That is a question that is I would like to answer today more than ever. We have a global problem. And with this dynamic where the inventories are low, we could say that we are in an industry where the borders are deleted, where prunes will move in different parts of the world. We are going to have different origins. So with a lot of communication and with responsibility, we are going to be able to supply to whom have been our consumers. And here I'm talking about importers, but also our consumers, our final consumers, who have been permanently eating prunes, and because they are convinced that this is an excellent product. Today, I don't see any borders or limitations that many countries, not only Chile, because of the low level of inventory, the prunes may have different origins for different destinations in the world. Another question: what makes a difference of the prunes from the other producing countries such as California, Australia, Serbia, Argentina, South Africa? Every day there are fewer differences. It's an industry that is mature in terms of quality, and that happened a long time ago. It's dynamic, as we said some time ago, from the tree to the final consumer. So we have prunes that are available for the challenge in terms of quality and safety food, in terms of the certifications that we have now. What the world demands, they demand natural products, and I'm going to make the link to this other question: what the United States does in order to reduce the preservatives in the prunes. So, in terms of reduction of preservatives, I know that I have learned that prunes use potassium sulfate as a preservative, and today we are working on trying to export prunes without sulfate, and probably in the future we will receive demands from different parts of the world. No preservative-free prunes. Today we have that availability, and there are some countries that are going faster in this sense. California, for instance, exporting to Japan, they have an evolved industry. The way how they export the prunes with no preservatives is by the using temperature, high temperature, to pack the product and to trade it without any preservatives. But now what the limitation is, it has to be packed in its final package for the final retail customer. Now, Chile has been adding value to its products significantly. And if this happened 15 years ago, we had sales only for snacks in Latin America and other countries in Central Europe, where the consumption was breakfast. Today we have significant developments. We have confectionery industry as a raw material to add value in prunes with chocolate, for instance, which is a product that is progressing in Europe, and Chile has been hand in hand with this. Here there is a process to improve the quality standards, and who is making this chocolate, dried fruit. They need the raw material to be perfect, so that compels us to go to have better quality levels. In terms of the questions of the audience, people have been asking many questions. We have tons and tons of questions for the different processes and productions of Agromillora. And once again, all the presentations are available with the contact details, so you can talk to each of the speakers. And this program online, the good thing is that the presentations will remain, I would say, for the next 10-15 days in our platform. So for those who couldn't see it, you will have them available. And for those who want to check all the concepts, you will review that. I want to invite you once again to all the stakeholders of this industry with the difficulties that we're experiencing to work together. Chileprunes is an association that is permanently available for the production world. This is our motto. That is why we have been created. We need to get in touch with the producer to create links so that we all together, understanding that what we do is our responsibility, to go to the world with Chilean prunes with the best quality and to be recognized as the leaders, as we are today in the world. I want to thank you all for this participation, active participation. More than 350 participants today in the morning, with more than 500 people participating. And those people who were not present, you will review all the concepts that we have in the presentations. Thanks, Bruno, Javier, Juan Pablo. Thanks for your participation in this panel. And obviously the homeowners, Goodbody Company, in this place, in this beautiful place in Santiago. It's good. Even though we were in a pandemic world, this is the best place to be in this Congress online. I hope you have a good afternoon and a good day. Thanks to all of you.